Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for still being here. We had a long but very interesting day. We are here now in this panel to discuss about technology and philanthropy. We are living in a time of great technology advancement with new innovation emerging every day that has the potential to transform the way we live, the way we work, and the way we can give back to our communities. At the same time, the need of philanthropy has never been greater than today, as we face challenging, ranging from climate change to social inequality and global health crisis. At first glance, technology and philanthropy seems like a bit of opposite world, and that's what we are going to discuss today, how one can learn from the other and the other way around. Indeed, philanthropy is actually one of the main drivers of innovation in our society. Nonprofits in Belgium demonstrate daily that they can push the borders of what exists today, of the existing model, and innovate within our society. Let's take a simple example. Duo for a Job pairs young immigrants with experienced mentors in their field and help them in the route to employment in Belgium. Thanks to Duo's innovative approach, over 70% of the immigrants mentored by them found a job today. It's by rethinking existing model, by thinking about innovative solutions that we can change society. We know philanthropy is not only about money. We talked about that today. But digital philanthropy is a bit different, and it's mostly about giving, and therefore mostly about money. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. Philanthropic initiatives are booming today. In fact, if we look at it, 75% of the organizations that exist today in Belgium were created less than 20 years ago. So there is a lot happening, and a lot is moving in our society. And what can technology bring to that booming new projects that are emerging today? Well, quite a lot, and we're going to discuss about the opportunities and the challenges. The opportunities are, it makes giving easier. You can give today 200 euros when you are in line at the supermarket, or just now, when listening in my speech, in 2 clicks you could actually give to a nonprofit. It also makes the opportunities to automate. It gives a lot more time back to nonprofit. They don't have to focus on tracing back the money, on organizing the tax deduction and so on. And more importantly, it gives asynchronicity. You can give wherever you are, whenever you are. You can give to a nonprofit in the middle of the night, or if you're on the other side of the world. And so it connects us all together. But let's not be naive. There are also some challenges, and we're going to try to talk about it today. The first and the big challenge for nonprofit today is talent. How do you compete with opportunities and money given by the corporate world to the new talents emerging today? The second one is everything changed so fastly. Yesterday it was Facebook, today it's TikTok. How are we going to communicate tomorrow? How can the nonprofit continue to communicate in a way that people want to learn about what they're doing? And the last challenge is the fight for attention. Big companies want to attract all the attention online. How can nonprofit compete? So we're going to work a bit differently in this session. We have 2 mini panels. In the first part of our session, we will mainly address the power of technology and how it can create new communities, online and offline. And we will start by hearing from Kate Sheridan from Giving Tuesday. It's a video she made because she's currently in Hong Kong and it's the middle of the night for her. And we will speak about the importance of community building via social network. Then 3 Belgian startups. Here we'll have a double hat because I will also present better. We'll present how we can leverage sport, well-being and subscription to foster digital giving. So let's maybe start with the video of Kate.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate Sheridan and I'm the Senior Director of Global for Giving Tuesday. I'm calling from Hong Kong. I wish I could be there in person, but I am excited to share with you some of our learnings from Giving Tuesday and building a movement with distributed leadership. So Giving Tuesday, it started as an experiment in 2012, and it originally was a hashtag and a campaign that was meant to unite people around one common idea, and that is to do good. And we think about what communication and technology was like in 2012 versus where it is today, it's completely different. how people communicate, how people connect. It's changed so much. But what we've learned is that it has also presented great opportunities for people to collaborate and to come together and to feel empowered to participate. And we're seeing this mostly through our hand raisers. And these are people who raise their hand and take the Giving Tuesday idea and values and adapt it and customize it for their own community and culture. And it's through them, through this network of distributed leaders, that we've really been able to grow the movement and watch them customize it, building geographic campaigns around cities or coming together as cause coalitions like Giving Zoo Day, which is a group of zoos, and even our first country movements. And their Giving Tuesdays, they look and feel completely different. They have different names, logos, messages, but it's very, unbranded yet coordinated, because we're all working as a community around that shared goal, which is to encourage and inspire more generosity. And it's through this that we now are where we are at today. We have over 90 official country movements who are led by hand raisers, who are adapting and taking our ideas and bringing it to communities all around their country. And these hand raisers, they come from all different parts of society. And I'll just list a few examples here. We have Yael, our leader in France, who works at the Association French Fundraisers, JP in Chile, who started Giving Tuesday while in school and is now a consultant, Marley in Zimbabwe, who first came to us through Starling Collective, our leadership program, Pablo, who leads AFS in Dominican Republic, working with volunteers, Cheryl in Malaysia, who works at one of the major platforms in the region, and Anita in Mexico, who's an entrepreneur and who has from the very beginning been bringing foundations and volunteers together to grow the movement there. So if we think about technology and community and focus on one for an example, we'll take Anita. If we think about Anita, she launched Giving Tuesday, found core partners, and she was able to meet Junith from HipGive. And Junith, through her network and her platform and team, created Latinx Give, a campaign that's part of Giving Tuesday. And through this and through other messaging and social media and technology, they were able to promote Giving Tuesday to all different types of people who brought Giving Tuesday to their companies, their foundations, their communities, and even their friends who came out and volunteered on the day. So it really can start with one and grow to many. And through this, and as technology continues to bring people together, we're seeing more collaboration across borders, across causes through coalition campaigns. We're hearing about more youth who are taking charge and empowering their peers and showing and teaching us different ways to give. And we're also seeing cities, towns, and communities come together in person and online in new and powerful ways, in ways that's specific to that location. And again, this all comes down to people. And so our country leaders, our hand raisers are constantly using technology and working together as a community to share tools, ideas, examples. They talk on WhatsApp every single day. They connect over events and calls and are always supporting one another and just sharing everything they're doing and learning in the spirit of promoting more good and more participation in and around Giving Tuesday, which is ultimately creating more radical generosity. And so this amounts to a good amount of giving. We have our Data Commons team. I highly recommend you check it out, which has a number of working groups and projects looking at generosity and trends around the world. We do track what happens on Giving Tuesday. So we know that, for example, last year, over $3.1 billion was raised in the US alone in the 24-hour period of Giving Tuesday. But we also are working with those 90 plus countries on figuring out the data that's happening within their countries. Across regions, we're launching a whole collaborative around data and giving in Europe. And also not just looking about what happens or what's produced, but why, the motivations. How are we using technology to connect? How are we encouraging one another? Because, what we've learned is generous people, they're generous. They want to do good. They want to help. They just need to be asked. And we see that generosity can also be a real driver for broader systems change. And as the world continues to develop, new technologies and social media platforms and ways to participate come about, It's really just creating more opportunities to lean into these communities, to support them more, and to inspire greater participation all across civil society. So thank you so much. Please reach out with questions or ideas, or if you want to talk more about all the work that we're doing. And thank you again for listening.
So Kate was the first one to talk about how technology can enable community, and now we're going to see about 3 Belgian projects, the first one being Better, then there's going to be Felix 500 and Atlas Go. We each going to represent in our own language, so I'm going to switch now to French. Donc je suis ici pour vous présenter Better. Imaginez une soirée entre amis, vous êtes en train de discuter et vous refaites le monde. Et tout d'un coup, vous vous énervez sur certaines inégalités de la société, vous commencez à vous emporter, et un de vos amis vous dit « Ok, c'est super Marie, mais concrètement, tu fais quoi, toi, pour changer les choses ?» Et là, c'est un peu déroutant, parce que c'est ce soir-là que je me suis rendu compte que j'étais bien plus douée pour parler que pour agir. Et malheureusement, je ne suis pas la seule. En Belgique, 86% des gens disent qu'ils veulent aider. Mais pourquoi ne passent-ils donc pas à l'acte? Et c'est de ce constat très simple qu'est né Better. Si le nombre de donateurs augmente chaque année en Belgique, les jeunes, que nous définissons comme les moins de 45 ans, j'espère que je ne vexerai personne dans la salle, restent en marge de ce mouvement. Et pourquoi? On a essayé de comprendre, parce qu'on ne pouvait pas accepter qu'on était juste moins généreux que nos aînés. Et en fait, ce qui nous manque, ce qui leur manque, est d'un tout autre ordre. C'est un outil adapté à notre façon de faire les choses. Parce que trop souvent, j'entends « Oui, mais je sais pas, j'ai pas le temps, je ne sais pas par où commencer, je ne sais pas à qui je peux faire confiance. Oui, mais donner, c'est compliqué. Oui, mais je ne sais pas où va mon argent. » Et c'est pour qu'il n'y ait plus toutes ces excuses et pour qu'à chaque fois qu'il y a un enthousiasme et une envie de donner, il y a un outil directement disponible pour transformer cet enthousiasme en action. Parce que sinon, le quotidien nous remporte et on oublie et on passe à autre chose. C'est pour éviter ça qu'on a créé Better. Alors concrètement, c'est très chouette, mais comment ça fonctionne? Alors c'est très simple. Vous venez sur notre site, betterapp.org, et vous nous dites les causes qui vous intéressent. Chacun a des causes qu'on a envie de voir changer dans la société, c'est très personnel, il n'y a aucun jugement, que ce soit le changement climatique, la lutte contre la pauvreté, la discrimination, il y en a assez. Vous nous dites ce qui vous intéresse. Ensuite, vous nous dites votre budget. Ça commence des 5 € par mois, combien vous avez envie de donner tous les mois. Et puis c'est tout. On vous laisse vous reposer, profiter, et on s'occupe de tout. Chaque premier dimanche du mois, on vous présente une association qui travaille quotidiennement à solutionner les problèmes qui comptent pour vous. Et on alloue votre don mensuel à cette association. Le petit bonus, on vous présente cette association grâce à une vidéo de 2 minutes qui est très interactive et qui vous explique le problème qu'ils essayent de régler. Alors, pourquoi ça fonctionne? Tout d'abord parce que c'est un outil qui correspond à notre manière de faire les choses. C'est digital, c'est connecté, c'est rapide, c'est efficace. Ensuite, parce que c'est une approche bottom-up. Enfin, parce que c'est une approche qui joue sur le pouvoir du collectif. On n'est pas naïf. On sait qu'avec 10 € par mois, on ne va pas changer les choses. Par contre, si on est 10 000, 20 000 à donner 10 € par mois, là, on pourra commencer à bouger les lignes de notre société. Enfin, c'est une approche qui émane du terrain. On entend des gens qui sont sur le terrain. On apprend des initiatives concrètes. Et on commence à aborder des thématiques extrêmement complexes, comme la pauvreté, grâce à des gens du terrain qui nous expliquent, oui, mais concrètement, comment ça se traduit et comment est-ce que moi, j'agis tous les jours pour solutionner ce problème. On s'attaque à une contribution mensuelle pour faire du don une habitude et ancrer cette habitude dans le temps pour qu'elle ait vraiment de l'impact. Et puis enfin, c'est démocratique. À partir de 5 € par mois, aujourd'hui, c'est le prix d'un cappuccino. Alors, vous aurez tous un QR code à la sortie, vous inquiétez pas. Concrètement, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Aujourd'hui, on est 2,4 millions de millénials en Belgique. Alors, et si, imaginez, si on commençait tous à donner aujourd'hui, si aujourd'hui on apprenait tous les outils pour devenir les philanthropes de demain, si ensemble on se rassemblait pour construire la société qu'on veut voir, et surtout si les ASBL en Belgique pouvaient être découverts par des nouveaux donateurs, et s'ils pouvaient se concentrer sur ce qu'ils font de mieux, c'est-à-dire changer la société, et ne plus devoir s'épuiser à expliquer à tout le monde pourquoi ils ont besoin de fonds pour ça. C'est le monde dans lequel on croit, et c'est pour ça qu'on a créé Better.
Jelle fietste vorig jaar in mei van Gent naar de muur van Gerardsbergen, reed die 28 keer na elkaar op en kwam om 11 uur 's avonds terug thuis. Het lijkt gekke werk, maar ik leg jullie uit waarom dat niet zo is. Na de diagnose van een ernstige ziekte bij Felix wilden zijn ouders iets doen om projecten rond palliatieve zorgen voor kinderen te steunen. En wat begon met iets kleins, groeide uit tot Felix 500, waar we de afgelopen 2 edities samen 130.000 euro mee inzamelden. Felix 500 is een concept dat fundraising en sport combineert tot een competitie. Het is een virtueel event waar de deelnemers fietsen waar en wanneer ze dat willen en hun gefietste kilometers automatisch worden ingelezen op het Felix 500-platform. Het doel is om met je team over 8 dagen zoveel mogelijk punten te verzamelen. En dat kan je door meer kilometers te fietsen, maar ook door meer geld in te zamelen. Daarnaast zijn er ook 10 mini-uitdagingen die elk gesponsord zijn door een bedrijf. En haalt je team een mini-uitdaging binnen, dan wordt het bedrag ervan toegevoegd aan je sponsorfactor en stijgt je team opnieuw in het klassement. En zo komen we terug bij Jelle. Want Eetcafé Woest had de mini-uitdaging Muur van Gerardsbergen gesponsord voor €500. En met zijn rit nam Jelle die bonus af van het team dat tot dan toe aan de leiding stond met slechts 19 beklimmingen. En zo wordt het spel gespeeld en zijn de mini-uitdagingen en het algemene klassement continu in beweging. Andere uitdagingen gaan dan weer naar het team dat na de start om middernacht als eerste 20 kilometer fietst, het team met de meeste hoogtemeters, teams die elke dag fietsen, enzovoort. En ik zie jullie denken, die gasten zijn compleet zot en waarschijnlijk hebben jullie gelijk, maar de mens is nu eenmaal een competitief beestje. En van zodra het een spel wordt, draaien veel mensen een knop om, willen ze winnen en is ook de motivatie om geld in te zamelen veel en veel groter. Zo was er Robbie, die 10 minuten voor het einde nog snel €100 stortte om toch maar in de top 3 te eindigen. En hier zien we het mooiste voorbeeld. We kijken naar een vergaderzaal in Miami en er staat "We need $3,000. 4,000 if we want to win." Nu, een Belgisch bedrijf had zich met verschillende teams ingeschreven en de Amerikaanse tak had zich voorgenomen om als eerste van het bedrijf te eindigen. Maar toen ze na een aantal dagen in de top 10 stonden, werd het competitiebeest zo groot dat ze het hele event wilden winnen. En uiteindelijk fietsten ze 3.500 kilometer en hebben ze meer dan $4.300 ingezameld. Een veelvoud van wat ze zonder competitie hadden binnengehaald. En dat is de kracht van Felix 500. Editie 23 loopt van 13 tot 20 mei. Ik zou zeggen, schrijf u gerust nog in of surf in die periode even naar felix500.be om te zien hoe het er in het echt aan toe gaat. Bedankt.
Bonjour à tous, un tout grand merci d'être venus nous écouter aujourd'hui. Je ne pourrais pas être plus d'accord avec Felix 500 et avec ce qu'ils font parce que Atlas Go aussi est une start-up qui pense que la compétition et la philanthropie peuvent vraiment avoir un très très grand lien. Qu'est-ce qu'Atlas Go? Nous sommes une application qui permet à des employeurs d'investir dans le bien-être de leurs employés via des programmes de bien-être intégrés. L'idée, c'est qu'avec Atlas Go, on peut mettre en place tout un programme de bien-être pour les employés, pousser ces employés à prendre soin d'eux via des activités de bien-être dans l'application, mais, et ça c'est le petit truc, que chaque application, que chaque activité plutôt de bien-être soutienne également des causes à impact, comme potentiellement la Fondation Roi Baudouin. Maintenant, en pratique, comment est-ce que ça fonctionne? Hop. C'est très très facile. En tant qu'employeur, vous pouvez décider de mettre en place un challenge Atlas Go, qui est soit quelque chose de temporaire, soit quelque chose tout au long de l'année, et vous choisissez votre thème. Ce thème peut être riche et varié. On peut travailler sur le sport, sur le bien-être, sur la sustainability, sur faire de l'impact pour les autres, du volontariat, un anniversaire d'entreprise. Bref, vous choisissez un thème avec l'aide de nos Customer Success Managers afin que ça ait vraiment un lien avec votre entreprise. Ensuite, vous choisissez simplement les activités que vous voulez mettre en place dans Atlas Go. On en a plus de 350 différentes. Donc vous avez vraiment le choix dans nos 4 piliers. On peut investir sur le bien-être des employés d'une manière physique, mentale, sustainability ou impact. Donc ce n'est pas seulement pour les coureurs de marathon ou pour les grands cyclistes. On peut trouver des activités comme le vélo, la course, le saut en parachute, pourquoi pas, le yoga, la méditation, faire du volontariat, aider son voisin, faire du plugin, du nettoyage, du recyclage, bref, tout ce que vos employés leur est cher afin d'avoir un impact positif sur leur santé mentale. Mais ensuite, comment est-ce qu'on les motive? Et c'est là qu'on rejoint vachement bien Félix 500, c'est via un challenge ou via un objectif à impact. Chez Atlas Go, vous pouvez donc du coup choisir un objectif que les employés doivent débloquer ensemble afin de remplir leur objectif, comme par exemple une donation d'un certain montant d'argent vers l'association de votre choix. Et ensuite, chacune de vos activités libère une partie de ces donations jusqu'au moment où on en arrive à l'objectif. Quelques chiffres clés sur Atlas Go. On a la chance et on est très fiers d'avoir 124 000 employés en meilleure santé sur notre application depuis son lancement il y a 5 ans. On a environ 550 clients heureux aujourd'hui, enfin en tout cas on espère qu'ils sont heureux sur notre plateforme. On a réussi à lever plus de 10 millions de dollars pour des œuvres un petit peu partout dans le monde via nos différents challenges et nos différents partenaires, et on a pu compter plus de 2 millions d'activités de bien-être loguées sur notre app depuis sa création. Maintenant, moi je peux parler pendant très longtemps sur Atlas Go, mais il n'y a rien de mieux que d'avoir votre tour et de vous laisser essayer. C'est pour ça que je vous propose d'aller faire un petit test vous-même sur notre app et de simplement aller sur atlasgo.org/app pour télécharger l'app ou scanner le QR code. Au moment de votre inscription, on va vous demander de rentrer un unlock code. Ce unlock code va être FRB23. FRB23, et vous rentrerez du coup dans un challenge qui est privatif pour nous tous ici. Et votre challenge aujourd'hui, c'est d'essayer d'aller débloquer les 500 € de donation que nous allons faire à la Fondation Roi Baudouin si vous êtes en mesure de prendre soin de votre santé. Merci beaucoup et je vous souhaite encore une très très bonne journée.
I have a few questions prepared here. If there are questions for the public, don't hesitate to raise your hand. No worries about that. The first question for you guys would be, what do you think is the strength of technology, and why do you use community building to leverage philanthropy?
Well, I think both Atlas Go and Felix 500, we're using sports and physical activity as a way for community building. It's nothing new. It's been since I was a little kid. We were also running and collecting money. Today we have the 20 kilometers of Brussels, huge events. It's all around sports. It's a great way to bring people together. But the virtual aspect is rather new, and it offers several advantages. I think if I compare with the reach we have at Felix 500, imagine organizing an event of 350 participants, 5,000 spectators, of which you can convince 1,200 to make a donation. How many months of preparation, thousands of euros, and how many volunteers on the day itself would you need to organize such an event? In other words, the return on investment in terms of money, but also in terms of time, can potentially be much higher for a virtual event than for a physical event. And then in that way, the barrier for smaller organizations with limited resources, but also for large organizations but with very remote teams, is just much lower for virtual events than for physical events. And also for the participants, the logistics for a virtual event are just much less demanding. It's very easy to bring together a large group of very diverse people, and whether you go for 50 kilometers or 500, or you prefer exercising before work or on a Sunday afternoon, everyone goes out when they want, where they want, and it's just very accessible.
Do you?
Pleasure. Moi, je peux parler en français ou bien? Ok,
Oui.
super. Donc en fait, je suis tout à fait d'accord avec ce que vous venez de dire, et surtout ce que nous on observe avec Atlas Go, c'est que les fonctionnalités qui sont les plus populaires dans notre application en général sont toutes les fonctionnalités qui sont liées à l'aspect communautaire. Il est possible de prendre des photos, de partager ses efforts de bien-être et de philanthropie avec les autres, et c'est vraiment cet aspect communautaire qui motive les gens à participer et à se joindre avec leurs collègues. Maintenant, l'ironie, c'est qu'avec Atlas Go, on a toujours voulu être, entre parenthèses, le seul réseau social qui n'attire pas votre attention. Parce qu'il n'y a rien à faire. Toutes nos applications, tous nos réseaux sociaux avec lesquels on travaille aujourd'hui veulent notre attention. Et nous, ce qu'on veut faire, c'est essayer de pousser les gens à passer à l'action et pas seulement en parler ou pas seulement observer ce que font les autres. Comme disait mon cofondateur Thomas, don't be a spectator. Take action, en gros. Et ce qui est génial avec le côté communautaire, c'est qu'on peut inspirer les gens sur notre app à voir ce que font les autres, mais le but de notre app, c'est vraiment de dire, OK, maintenant que tu as vu ce que font les autres, prends action toi aussi, va faire ton sport, va faire ta méditation, va faire ta donation, pour être certain qu'on puisse créer des communautés pour les bonnes choses et pas des communautés qui font que s'observer sans jamais prendre action eux-mêmes. Et c'est pour ça que le côté communautaire est tellement important, je trouve.
Agreed. Is there any question from the public?
There are many charities that participants could choose to give to as part of all of your technologies. Do you limit those at all? And if you don't, how do you facilitate the disbursement of those the funds to those charities? And for Marie, how do you choose the charities that you present up to individuals without, do you want to maintain any kind of impartiality? Sorry, 2 questions there, really.
No, it's fine. Very good question. In our case, we do choose because we think people nowadays are overwhelmed by all the choices, and we wanted to make it as easy for them as possible. Keep in mind, we target new donators. The idea is not to capture funds that before were already going to nonprofit, but people that didn't give before. So we wanted to make easy for them and introduce them into philanthropy with a curated choice. And that's how we do it as well. We select nonprofit. We have a bunch of criteria, and we select them based on, do they innovate? Do they bring the solution that our target population wants to see? And we listen to what our donators want. But of course, there is the quality of the nonprofit which we select.
Yeah, it's really a great question. On our end, we don't select, so it's kind of different. The reason being, because like most of the corporates that want to work with us will typically come with nonprofits that they already want to support. So what we do is that we check that the nonprofits that we support are from quality, right? We want to make sure that we don't have any ill-intentioned nonprofit on our platform, so we do a little check on that. But once that check has been passed, corporates can bring the nonprofits that they want. How we work, and the reason for that is really because each company has a certain set of cultures and values, and so to make sure that employees want to join into the movement, you have to make sure that employees understand why they need to join. So it's important for the company itself to choose their own nonprofits, in my opinion. What we do, however, is that we do work with nonprofits themselves that want their offer towards corporates to be different than what you typically do. As I'm sure all of you know who works in nonprofits, it's a brutally competitive space out there. Everyone wants a piece of the cake, and everyone wants to target corporates for donations. So if you put yourself into the shoes of a CSR manager, he or she is going to receive 10, 20, 30 requests per day asking if they could support their great cause. So what we offer to nonprofits is say, hey, come to your corporates by saying them, not only are you going to be able to donate to my great cause, but for your donation, you also receive an Atlas Go challenge so that you can onboard your employees into healthier and better habits. And that's a way to differentiate your donation towards any other nonprofits who just comes knocking on the door and wants a check, basically.
Okay, we have 2 minutes, so the time for one more question. Yes.
Thank you. I'm from Italy, so I'm curious for the non-Belgian audience here, how you are interested already doing, expanding your activity outside of Belgium. Thank you.
You can go ahead, yeah.
For everyone? All right. In our case, yes. So we have 2 offices. We have one who is based in San Francisco and one who is based in Brussels. And the beauty of apps and virtual is that you can do anything. So basically, we have clients mostly in Belgium and the US currently. The UK is a good market as well, just like France. So overall, like we have activities a little bit all over the world. If I'm not mistaken, I think we have around 15 different countries, but I'm not sure. I would check that number, so don't quote me on this. But yeah, so we have an opportunity with virtual to go in any country where we see a demand. The only challenge with that is to have translators and to be able to translate our app into different languages to offer the best possible experience to our users, basically.
Well, for Felix 500, it's a very simple answer. We have built a platform for our nonprofit, Felix 500, with the mission of supporting projects in palliative care for children. We have, however, received a lot of questions from nonprofits and also from companies from, hey, can't we use your platform as well to organize something similar for our causes? It's something we think about. I'm sure we could help a lot of organizations with it. But it's still in the thinking process of making a sound plan and the funding and so on. So for us, no scaling up outside of Belgium yet.
And for us, the big advantage of being in Belgium is from day one we had to think trilingual, bilingual for the moment, but we'll get there one day, trilingual. So we have the possibility for the moment we are in Belgium. And because we want to curate the nonprofit, we need to have someone that helps us curate good nonprofit in the local entity where we would go. But if it was an offer, we can totally discuss, no problem. Thank you, everyone. Let's continue with the second part of our panel. Thank you very much for your presentation. So we're going to go even further into technology and innovation. As you know, the web is evolving constantly. Web 1.0 was about the revolution of connecting computers. Web 2.0 was the effort to make web more social, fun, and interactive. And nowadays, we even speak about Web 3.0. With our two new guests, we are entering that new reality. They're going to explain to us what Web 3.0 is. Don't worry, we will get there. So in this final part of our session, we will explore some of the most cutting-edge technology and concepts that are transforming the field of philanthropy. First, François Toussaint will introduce us to the exciting new world of metaverse and NFT and their impact in philanthropy. Next, Catherine Miller will discuss the rapidly evolving field of AI and its implication in philanthropy. She will address the risks and challenges of AI and how we can ensure that it's developed and deployed in ways that are best to serve the needs of people and society. There is
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure we're going to explain everything in 8 minutes about Web3, but we'll try. So we're here today to explore NFT and metaverse. So it's kind of buzzword, but I think for philanthropists and people active in the field like you, it's mostly to understand that this technology must not scare you. Rather, I would advise you to dig into it and see how it can be an added value for you in your activity. It's a pretty new technology, so it will take time before you get into it, but with the King Baudouin Foundation and other partner, we did some try. 20 years ago, this is what happened with the new technology. People said that we should prohibit internet. Who among you is not using internet today? So I guess it's the same with Web3. My question maybe, so who has some NFTs maybe here in the room? Somebody has digital art collection or a wallet? Not yet, okay. Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah. It's a video, so we'll tackle the question later. So Web3 basically is the new internet. Basically, it's decentralization, it's user-centric. It's the opposite as Facebook and Google, so it's privacy. And I am answering the question right now. Currency and Bitcoin, you mostly hear about it, which is an application of the blockchain, but it is really the tip of the iceberg. Blockchain is a much wider technology that is used in food chain security, in many sectors, but media mostly speak about cryptocurrency. But basically, it's the same technology, but it's here to remain and to be used. And I will show you how in a couple of next slide, because for art sector, for social causes, building a new bond with your audience is an amazing way to create a decentralized ledger, a transparency system, basically. And you heard about NFT, non-fungible tokens. It's basically a unique digital identifier that is recorded on the blockchain. So basically, it's a transparency system. It's a database, an open database where you can create a limited collection. For example, 10 digital twins of an artwork. And you know that there are 10 because they are in a smart contract, it's decentralized, it's open. So it's really the new web, and we believe it is a new way for philanthropists as well to collect money. This is what you have seen in the beginning of NFT, crypto art, cryptocurrency. People in the arts say, look, wow. But it's also a way to create real performance. I will show you an example of a collection we will present in June, where you see it's a totally different thing with curation that allows artists to really monetize their creation and to bring a message to generate emotion. This has not been made by the King Baudouin Foundation. This artist, a couple of years ago, could have not monetized her work. Now it can, thanks to blockchain. Sebastián Salgado, most of you know, the photograph made 5,000 NFTs last year with Sotheby's. They auctioned these photographs with a random auction, sold out, so it allowed really to reach to a global audience. So philanthropists, as I think our mates told, it's a great way to reach a global audience and to can we keep control? It's scary for most of you, I guess, but I would say just try. It's an early stage, but you have to try and to get into control by learning. I've been also asked to talk about metaverse, the buzzword. I'm not a fan of metaverse. I don't have crypto myself, so I will show you some example to show you that it can be great. You could feature, for example, a virtual world. The metaverse is a virtual world. It can be decentralized or not, but you can have a forest where NFTs, for example, teach you something about a species, a tree species. You can have also less philanthropist activities on the metaverse. That's why you need to be aware and get to know it and can identify the right plan. You can also play like you are Kate or Jack in the Titanic to get to know our heritage. So for the people of the art sector, the culture, it's a great way to get to share your heritage with a wider audience. All these technology for me come back to one question for you. What is my purpose? What is my strategy? Can I use this technology for me? But first you need to learn and to understand, because blockchain, and I will show you some other example, is a way also to share your storytelling. As an organization, you can share your story and create a direct bond with NFTs, preparatory works of an artist, a restoration process. And this is another experiment we made with the foundation. Just a couple of seconds.
Félicien Rops est né en 1833, mort en 1898. Donc il a vraiment parcouru tout le 19e siècle. Et c'est un siècle qui est particulièrement intéressant parce que c'est un siècle qui va être très actif au niveau aussi bien des découvertes technologiques que des découvertes au niveau de la santé, au niveau de la culture. Donc,
so the curation is important. Like Marie said, we make some curation to share heritage and culture because we have a great patrimonium. Another last example, Maison Anneau, you know, this year in Brussels is an Art Nouveau year. It's a museum that gets open. So we are working with the museum to raise fund, okay, for a restoration process. That's very interesting because we will create a direct relationship with a community of donators. We will selling NFTs to fund some restoration, okay? So it's a way of, we give something back, something tangible. which will be digital art in this case. But it's a new way also to create revenue and not depending on public subsidies, which we know are scarce. So we are going to create an Art Nouveau alphabet, so heritage. There's also a lot of work with contemporary artists. Opportunities, it's full of opportunities, but it's very early stage. It's complicated. I will not deny it. We can discuss this in the panel later, but it's also full of risk if you will not work with the proper person. And the risk also is to miss the bullet points in your last slide. But it's full of risk. So you really need to take your time, don't hurry, study security. There's also the question of pollution. So you need to really measure and work with professionals to do it right and take your time. So it was hard in 8 minutes, but happy to answer your questions.
Wow, how to follow that. Thank you very much for dedicating your time to this. My name is Catherine Miller, and I'm director of the European AI and Society Fund, which is a collaborative fund supported by 14 philanthropic foundations, including King Baudouin Foundation. I'm going to take a slightly different take on technology here. So 2 things I want to address is, what is this connection between AI and society that we have in our name? And what's that got to do with philanthropy anyway? So if we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and society, we need to know what we're talking about with artificial intelligence, right? So I thought I'd get you a nice, quick, and easy, snappy definition of artificial intelligence to share with you. It doesn't exist. And that's because artificial intelligence is still a very vaguely defined field. This very awkward definition is actually the one that's being adopted by European policymakers at the moment. And don't worry if it doesn't make sense to you. The key things to remember from this are that artificial intelligence is a general purpose technology. It can be applied to many, many different situations. It works by drawing on vast amounts of data, using huge amounts of computing power, and then crunching that data through the computing to analyze it and to create outputs which we then act upon in the world. And to varying extents, it does this autonomously. And because it's a general purpose technology, it's already part of our lives in many ways. These are 3 ways that I have used AI just in the past week. And these are practical, convenient applications of artificial intelligence that we now don't even notice taking place. They're not really, though, the things that people get excited about when we talk about AI, to be honest. These are the things that really get people excited. And this is where the AI and society bit comes in, because this is why people believe that artificial intelligence has a transformative potential on our society. Using AI to accelerate medical breakthroughs, using AI to monitor the impacts of climate change. These are some of our greatest societal challenges, and we can deploy technology to address them. So it sounds great, right? What's the problem? Well, 6 months ago, an application called ChatGPT, which you may have heard of, was launched. And as well as being a marvel of technology, it's done a very good job of explaining that question of what's the problem. Because within weeks of ChatGPT hitting the public, we started to see headlines like this. And so the excitement of ChatGPT had not taken into account what will happen to the people at the other end of the technology. And this is, although ChatGPT is kind of talked about as something particularly extraordinary and marvelous, one thing that it holds in common with pretty much all other AI developments and deployments is this fact, is that it's put out into the world without adequate consideration of what it does to people in society. And when you do that in a society that is already marked by inequality and injustice, you find that the technology serves just to amplify and exacerbate those issues. So if you use generative AI to develop disinformation, then algorithms can spread that across social media and undermine our public sphere. Historically, racist policing practices are baked into data, which is then used in predictive policing systems in our justice system. The same happens in the use of welfare fraud detection systems. If you launch AI into a system without adequate consumer protection, there is no redress when your robot vacuum cleaner films you on the toilet. When you put it out into areas where there are not adequate worker protections, you find that Amazon warehouse workers believe that the robots are treated better than they are. You find that women in Austrian job centers are only offered part-time jobs, or black students at the University of Amsterdam find that facial recognition technology doesn't work on their skin tone. And in the midst of the climate crisis, you find that AI is requiring huge amounts of energy and water to operate. So in all these situations, we find that artificial intelligence is serving simply to amplify issues that we already face. So where does philanthropy come into this? Historically, when people who have had power and have misused their power to do harm to society, philanthropy has stepped in to correct that imbalance and to step in on behalf of the people who are most affected by it. Artificial intelligence is reshaping our society in unbelievable ways, and philanthropy has to be part of that conversation to make sure that the people most affected are not left behind. And there's a real opportunity right now, because here in Brussels, regulation is being developed that has the potential to change artificial intelligence and to direct it to better serve the needs of people in society. But for that to happen, we need civil society organizations to be in the room and be part of that conversation. Because this is who's in the room right now. Big tech is now the biggest lobbyist in Brussels, outspending the fossil fuel industry. They spend 97 million euros a year on lobbying in Brussels. And for comparison, my current grant-making budget is just under 2 million. So to meet this challenge, we need to really build a civil society ecosystem that is equipped to operate in this new environment, that is equipped to take on the challenge of the power of the technology companies. That takes a range of skills and experiences. And that's what we've been doing in terms of our grant making. We're building a community of organizations that do have expertise in technology, but who are also embedded in social justice issues and who also represent the communities that are most affected by the impacts of these technologies. And coming together, I'm really pleased to say, despite this David and Goliath situation, they're having an impact. So on the left are things that they have got into legislation, new legislation that is coming into force now, being applied to the biggest social media platforms. These things would not be in it if it weren't for the work of civil society organizations. On the right, where the question marks still are, that's because we're right in the middle of discussions on a comprehensive regulation of artificial intelligence by the EU. These are things that civil society has put on the table that would not be there were it not for their hard work. So we're at the start of a new phase of how we consider social justice. Technology is part of that question, and I'm really glad that you're all in this room and taking part in that journey. Thank you very much.
Hello? Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, François. Very interesting talks. Maybe one question to start the debate, and then we'll listen to the public if you have questions. How can we balance the need for innovation with the importance of supporting established causes or organization? How do you balance that in your daily activities? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'd like people to get away from is the idea that by working on tech issues, you're taking away from your other work. This is the work, right? This is the work in the society we're in. So if you're working on any of the issues that the philanthropists here will work on, whether it's education, health, criminal justice, poverty, these are tech issues. And so you're not taking away, you're building on what we already do.
Well, I think we should balance with the resources it requires. We should measure and get to have standards. I think to measure all the technological activities, which is the case for too few companies today. I mean, when you build a smart contract, it has an impact, a CO2 impact. So we should measure it. But of course, for many organizations in, for example, heritage or culture, if it allows you to raise money and restore an historic house in Brussels, in Art Nouveau, and reach out to people in Japan and the US and fund it, I mean, it's amazing, and it's an input and output analysis that you should make. But I think it's we should really reflect on what it requires, and maybe also most fundamental question, is it necessary? Maybe there are door-to-door tools, more traditional tools that are useful for fundraising, and technology is not always needed. I think it's a really case-by-case and industry look that we must have.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Not use technology to use technology, but only when it can leverage your action. Is there any question in the public? Yeah?
Je vais le dire en français, je crois, parce que sinon
Très bien.
je vais heurter des oreilles avec mon mauvais anglais. Donc voilà, en fait, nous avons reçu une donation en crypto, et au stade actuel en Belgique, il est quasiment impossible de pouvoir transposer cette crypto-monnaie sur notre compte en banque en euros. Et je voulais savoir si, par une de ces plateformes, eh bien voilà, on peut avoir des outils qui nous aident, nous, en tant qu'association, pour arriver à ce but. Parce que je pense que ça peut... En fait, voilà, l'idée, c'est que cette technologie peut aussi générer des levées de fonds incroyables.
Écoutez, notre compte en banque a été fermé 1 mois après avoir créé la société en Belgique. Donc, je ne citerai pas le nom de la banque, mais on leur avait dit que voilà, on utilise les crypto-monnaies, mais on utilise aussi les cartes de crédit. Donc, quand on vend des NFT pour une bonne cause, on reçoit effectivement des crypto-monnaies sur notre wallet, mais on les envoie directement sur un compte IBAN, et on les déclare et on fait des factures, on paye de la TVA. Mais c'était impossible d'expliquer ça. La banque nous a flagué comme activité à risque et a fermé notre compte. Donc on s'est retrouvé sans compte en banque pendant 3 mois. Vive l'entrepreneuriat en Belgique. Voilà. Ça c'est la réalité, parce que la FSMA, les autorités en Belgique, n'ont pas encore pris une position claire. Alors, pour répondre à votre question de manière plus pertinente, je crois que c'est un lien incroyable. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, il existe ce qu'on appelle les stable coins. Donc, ce n'est pas toujours des monnaies qui fluctuent. Parfois, elles sont attachées au dollar ou aux euros. Et pour toute une série de pays dans lesquels il y a une inflation galopante, l'Argentine, le Brésil, il y en a beaucoup, ça peut être un nouveau moyen. C'est une monnaie qui est bâtie sur une technologie qui est solide, qui est décentralisée, mais qui n'est pas reconnue encore par certaines autorités. Mais je crois que ça va évoluer, parce que c'est un moyen, effectivement, de toucher des nouveaux partenaires. C'est une audience globale, et c'est plus agile, c'est moins coûteux que certaines transactions bancaires, mais il y aura, à mon avis, un travail encore régulatoire à réaliser, et peut-être de lobby, et puis voir aussi le coût environnemental, parce qu'effectivement, certaines crypto-monnaies plus que d'autres sont... Donc on en revient encore à l'équilibre entre l'objectif, la légitimité, mais vous soulevez un point, je pense que beaucoup d'organisations... voilà, nous, on est actifs aussi en Argentine dans un projet de reforestation, régénération des communautés indigènes. Les gens ne veulent pas donner en dollars ou en pesos parce qu'ils payent trop cher, alors que c'est 3 € un arbre, et donc ils préfèrent travailler des cryptos, et ces cryptos sont transformés en monnaie pure et dure pour payer des gens et acheter par exemple des plantes. Mais donc c'est vraiment un moyen d'avoir de l'impact. Je pense qu'il faut en tenir compte.
Mais aujourd'hui, je n'ai pas de solution concrète à vous proposer. Ah.
J'ai une solution concrète.
Magnifique.
Et, une question. La solution concrète, vous ne la trouverez pas dans les banques belges classiques. Il faut passer sur les néobanques. Si vous regardez en Belgique, vous avez par exemple Bit4You, qui est un wallet. C'est une organisation reconnue par également la Banque nationale, qui vous permet d'avoir des cryptos, faire toutes les transactions en crypto ou stablecoin, et puis finalement de récupérer votre argent. Le deuxième point, vous avez les néobanques, c'est-à-dire les banques qui sont finalement uniquement technologiques, comme N26. N26 a créé un portefeuille crypto, donc d'échange entre votre compte IBAN en euros ou en dollars, transféré en crypto. Et inversement, vous récupérez cet argent et, entre guillemets, il n'y a aucun frais de transaction. Mais seules les banques, néobanques le font aujourd'hui. J'avais une autre question. I had another question about artificial intelligence. The question about artificial intelligence is, in fact, two parts. First one is the data set, where we retrieve the data. And in fact, the data are from Facebook, proprietary, from Google, proprietary, from other platforms, proprietary, from government, but very local, not international or European. And two, the question is about artificial intelligence and the bias, so the way you select data in the data set. So in your position, how will you deal with that? Regulate, improve, give some tips or specific processes to improve that? Because on the other side, you have proprietary data, and two, you have people who develop something with a full ambition of making money.
So I think there's two aspects to this question. It's like how do you address these questions systemically, and how do you address these questions if you were an organization that wanted to deploy AI in your own work? On the smaller question is, as an organization deploying AI, and I think Philanthropy has a particular responsibility to think very carefully about how and when it deploys AI, because it's very hard at the moment to see AI systems that would sit well with most philanthropic foundations' values because of the questions you raise. And at the moment, there is not accessible information that would allow an organization really to assess, does this AI system, A, do what it says it's going to do, but B, operate according to values that are aligned with our organization. Systemically, this is part of what the regulation that is being developed in Europe is trying to address, is to place requirements on transparency around where the data has come from, at the mitigations that have been put in place to address questions of bias, and to create limitations on situations where AI can be deployed so that it's not then deployed in very high-risk scenarios that have a particular impact on people's lives, for example, in hiring systems used by recruitment companies. So those are being addressed by the regulation. Of course, as civil society, we're always pushing for more, we're pushing for it to be better. But I would say the European Union deserves a huge amount of credit that we are at the position where we are now, with a very substantial piece of legislation, which I do think will have a significant impact on the way that AI is operated in Europe.
Merci. J'aimerais vous poser la question de la confiance. La plupart des citoyens, quand ils s'adressent à des fondations, quand ils font confiance à des fondations, c'est parce qu'ils les connaissent. Ils les connaissent et ils peuvent les contrôler, ils peuvent rencontrer les gens, peuvent vérifier ce qui se passe. À la limite, ils font confiance aussi à ce qui se passe sur le terrain, même à l'autre bout du monde. Ici, vous me parlez d'une intelligence artificielle et des réalités recréées et visualisées. Nous savons que l'intelligence artificielle, par exemple le ChatGPT, on ne connaît même pas les sources des informations qui sont utilisées. Est-ce que vous ne craignez pas? Ou alors, qu'est-ce qu'il faut créer pour rétablir la confiance, la crédibilité, la véracité des informations que vous allez diffuser? Ou est-ce que vous n'allez pas accroître cette confusion entre une réalité virtuelle et une réalité réelle? Je me pose vraiment d'énormes questions par rapport à la vague de méfiance qui se répand actuellement dans nos sociétés à cause précisément aussi bien des monnaies virtuelles que les images virtuelles et les informations virtuelles, informations dont on ne peut pas vérifier la source. Donc comment vérifier si votre philanthropie est vraiment philanthropique? On ne pourra pas. ou quelles sont les méthodes que vous pourriez mettre en place pour que nous, citoyens, nous puissions vérifier cela?
Ouais, je crois sur l'aspect, peut-être pas AI, ça je vais laisser Catherine répondre. Il y a aujourd'hui beaucoup de méfiance, et c'est normal parce que c'est une nouvelle technologie, et il y a eu beaucoup d'abus, il y a des gens qui ont fait n'importe quoi avec elle pour faire de l'argent rapide. Nous, on essaie de voir un peu plus loin, et je pense que quand on travaille avec des institutions reconnues, ces institutions reconnues doivent travailler sur de la certification. Il y a une base qui est la propriété intellectuelle. Et ce n'est pas parce qu'il y a de la nouvelle technologie qu'on peut l'oublier. Donc, quand on crée des collections digitales, dans notre cas, avec des maisons Art Nouveau, avec des œuvres, des bandes dessinées, où on travaille avec la Fondation Rabaudouin, avec Casterman, avec des auteurs, des artistes contemporains, il y a systématiquement une base légale. Donc, la technologie ne fait pas l'économie de la propriété intellectuelle. Donc, c'est super important, si vous souhaitez vous intéresser à cela, de ne pas oublier la base légale. Je veux dire, ça, c'est vraiment le point de départ de quoi que ce soit. Deux, c'est la légitimité des institutions et des plateformes. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui nous demandent « Ah, on m'a proposé, des artistes qui nous disent « On a proposé de m'acheter telle œuvre à autant de bitcoins. » C'est évidemment des arnaques. C'est des gens qui achètent des œuvres, qui envoient un message sur Instagram en disant « Donnez-moi votre compte, je vous donne 5 000 $ en bitcoin. » C'est des arnaques. Donc, il y a un aspect d'éducation. Il faut vraiment s'informer, il faut prendre le temps, il faut protéger sa vie privée. Et là, c'est intéressant, l'aspect wallet, parce qu'il y a un respect de la vie privée. De plus en plus de gens sont allergiques à tout ce qui est Facebook, etc. Et donc, il ne faut pas non plus négliger pour des organisations actives dans la philanthropie, le fait que les gens, tout ce qui est, on les a mentionnés, Amazon, Facebook, Google, qui vendent vos données privées, justement, le Web3 s'inscrit en faux par rapport à ça, pour que les gens récupèrent le contrôle de leurs données. Donc je vous dirais, maîtrise de votre vie privée, propriété intellectuelle, certification, et travailler avec des institutions, des partenaires. Et quand des institutions, des fondations connues le font, je crois que leur public leur fera confiance.
Catherine, do you want to add? We have a few more minutes left.
So I think on the question of trust, the fact that many people in the public don't trust technology is technology only has itself to blame, and the big tech companies in particular. And particularly when you look at how big tech has operated in the face of criticism, it's deployed some of the dirtiest lobbying tactics that we've ever seen, and has brought people to think back to big tobacco. So it's not a question of educating people to learn to trust it. It's a question of regulating technology to be worthy of trust. And this is why I think you're very correct to say that particularly civil society, particularly charities and philanthropy, have to think very carefully about which technologies they choose to associate with themselves. What's missing at the moment is a set of trustworthy civic technologies that are usable, that the charity sector could turn to in good conscience and use these sets of technologies knowing that they are aligned with their values. And that's something, it would be wonderful to see that gap addressed.
I agree. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. It was great to have you all today. I think what we all wanted to address today is technology is a way, it can be a leverage, but what's most important, and let's not forget, it's about the nonprofits that are doing the work here, and whatever technology you choose to reach them is the right technology for you. But the most important is don't use a product for the product, don't use a way of giving for the way of giving. Look at the causes, at the nonprofit that matter to you, and see how you can donate and help them.